Guess who?
Whoa, transvestite, back off!
Welcome to another episode brought to you by Game Glitches. Right now we're gonna take a look at the Enchanter class. Please note that I don't play Enchanters well the way they're meant to be, so I'm gonna show you my method, why I play the way I play, why I do the things I do, and you will choose to either follow it or adjust your own method. Now, let's take a look at the Enchanter. These are the native stats of the Enchanter, what he or she starts with. As you could see, 2 intelligence, 2 speed, 1 perception, 1 telekinesis, willpower, blah, 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 charisma. Alright, we get it. So, first of all, when you need to go to personality and remove that 1 charisma. Kinda useless for you. Let's be realistic. You don't need really charisma for this character. Then you would also, if you're planning to pick up Joan, one of the companions, the one that rains and thunders and blah blah blah, you would not need telekinesis. So, in my personal opinion, just drop this and just max out the other dude's telekinesis if you want. Or if you can't. Or if you have another character with telekinesis. But if you really must, you know what, you could keep it there. But I personally remove it, which gives me 2 available points, as you could see here. Now, when I go to skills, I have a decision to make here, and where you would need to. If you're gonna pick up Joan, do you really need Hydrosophist? Considering the fact that, well, he already is gonna have that ability, and it's gonna be higher than this character's. Do you really need 2 people reigning on a battlefield? Not really. I mean, yes, he does have many other different amazing abilities, but that's why you're already keeping the Arrow Surge. You already can do the teleportation and the Bitter Cold. So, unless you're planning to roll this as a support class, me personally, I would just remove it out of the equation. Now, you go, well, you have 3 points left. What do you do with them now? Well, it's quite simple. When I play any kind of a caster class, I really like rolling, basically a pet type class. And therefore, I would, prefer going into, Geomancer. Why? If we go over here and then go down to Geomancer, you would see that I have Summon Spider, which is actually quite an amazing thing to summon early on in a game, and he does a redunculous amount of damage, and he doesn't cost that much, AP to summon. And the cooldown on it is quite low, and the mob is quite amazing. Further on, I personally myself, because you already have Aerothurge and Gyromancer, I go myself and put more points into Geomancer. I try to get that Geomancer kind of early for the long distance bolts, like those rocks and stuns and the armor, and there's a bunch of things that I would personally prefer. But if you are not that type of a player, what you can do is you could put 1 point into Witchcraft and 1 point into Pyrokinetic if you took it out of Hydrophist, but again, you're thinning yourself out. Having a stronger ability in the beginning of the game might look hard, because you kind of be like, oh, I could have more abilities, but because you start with these 3, and until you expand your until you expand your ability, how many you have, you're gonna be kind of stuck with them. So the pet is quite an amazing. Also, as you raise your rank of your abilities, your everything else improves. Plus, you could now memorize more spells and blah blah blah. That's the theory I go to. There's nothing else really I see that I would personally use. Especially again, if you picking up Joan, you're already gonna have a lore master. If you're gonna have another caster, like these 2 abilities are debatable if you really want to go into them. Again, that is your choice, but I would prefer this way. That's how I started. I had amazing fun at it, and so on. I would prefer picking up Headvice instead of Bitter Cold, because Bitter Cold, it only works really well when in a frozen targets or if it's raining, on the cold targets, or it's raining or in water. But this one works a lot more often. In the beginning, it'll be just easier for you to to go get through the game. Perception here, I tend to, what I personally do, because from this build, I tend to like to do, well, more damage and stuff like that. So what I tend to do is I tend to take out 1 point out of perception if I'm gonna have another perception character who is I'm planning to have perception with. If I'm not planning to, please don't bother with it. Leave the perception in it, just for your sake. But most likely you will have a single toon that will have higher perception. And that's all reality you need is one toon with that 12, 13, 14 perception. In reality, that's all you really need. Please remember that within the ability points, you're only getting 49 ability points here. Unless you're playing a lone wolf, then where you're gonna get 68 ability points. 19 ability points more, but that not much more. Therefore, if you thin yourself out in lone wolf, you can actually create quite an amazing enchanter. But unless you're planning to go, doing something else aside from lone wolf, don't thin yourself out. You might not have enough attribute points for what you want to do. I would also recommend picking up after you max out Geomancer, other Thirch, just going for Witchcraft and so on. For the debuff spells, for the buff spells and etc. Even maybe before after you get few points into these abilities, start putting in here so you could have those debuffs if you have enough room on your bar that you want to use. Now let's take a look at the talent points. Please remember the amount of talent points, you're only gonna get 7 of these. So, but the ones that activate will be based on the skills that you're gonna max out first. So, just you could see them all over here. Well, the which way I play here, I honestly take out that point of Elemental Infinity, lowers the action points and cost, blah, blah, blah. And whatchamacallit, ability. I kind of completely remove that because what is an enchanter? What's important in an enchanter is, in my personal opinion, would be the intelligence. So I remove this first. And then you would pick up, where is it? Know-it-all. Yeah, your attitude towards for them towards you goes down, but you know what? You get that 1 intelligence point. It's quite really useful, especially early in the game. And then of course that 1 point from perception, and voila, you have a 9 intelligence. You actually becoming a quite lethal damaging machine at this moment. And then, well, guys, there you go. This is how I would create an enchanter, how I would roll an enchanter, and in the beginning, and how I would progress an enchanter throughout the game. I would continue dumping things into intelligence, maybe a little bit into constitution, and well, actually, aside from speed, I would also continue dumping them up on the constitution. The speed is so you have more points, you could do more abilities during one turn. It's always extremely helpful for the enchanter to be extremely fast, especially if you're rolling an escapist. Allows you to flee the combat when the enemies are right next to you, becomes very useful. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, to my channel. Please click like, please click subscribe, please check out my video. There should be a notation or a box somewhere in the window right now floating around. Also, please check out my site, ludumnexus.com. It's Latin for Game Connection. And the forum section there, you guys feel free of posting if you're looking for a gaming partner or looking for advice or something. It's always open to everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and happy wonderful new year.